This week, we'll be facing two of our oldest rivals in the LCS in CLG and Cloud9. And I think it could be a very important week moving forward for this team as we go for our for 8 wins, essentially. So let's talk some TSM. Welcome back, everybody, and yeah, we're heading into week 5, and we got 5 wins. I really was worried after we started hot 2-0, then we looked terrible in that 0-2, and now we got 5 wins, guys. A 1-1 weekend and then a 2-1 weekend. It's crazy, right? Like, we're a pretty good team right now, and I think we're hitting on a lot of cylinders, and I wanted to celebrate that. So, real quick, first we will start with the question of the day, do you think that we can crack the top 4? I can't believe I'm asking that. I really can't. And it's not that I don't like our players. It's not that I didn't think that our players were good enough, right? That was not it at all. What it was for me was it would take things to go right. Chawi would have to show some growth. Solo would have to show, that he could continue to be more than just, his kind of mercenary self, right? Maple had to take his next step. Chime had to take his next step. Boogie had to be better than we thought he was going to be. All those things are happening, right? And I still think that there's another level to this team that we haven't seen yet. And that makes me very happy, very excited, especially in a league that is, I think, as talented as the LCS has been. Like, I understand that Dignitas and Immortals or, Team Liquid and 100 Thieves are not playing as well as they should be. But, like, guys, Golden Guardians are a good team, right? FlyQuest are a great team. Cloud9, Evil Geniuses, those are great teams, right? The LCS is strong. It is. It's a good league. It's fun to watch. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I would like to know, do you guys think that we could crack the top 4? While you're answering that question, if you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to get a bunch of different sports, esports, and gaming content coming out on our YouTube channel as we continue to try to grow it. And, let us know as well if there are things that you would like us to change. We're always open to criticism. Now let's get into some stats here. Oh, crap. You guys can't see them. All right. Give me 2 seconds while I fix this real fast. Sorry, guys. I'm going to shrink myself a little bit and move this up here. All right. Moving all this over. I have some interesting stats so far this year that I'm really happy about. We're at the halfway point. I figured we might as well take a look at this. Solo, and I went lane by lane. Solo has the 3rd most assists in the top lane at like 56. I think he's only a few behind, like one good game behind the rest and one bad game from them. And he's doing so with the 3rd least amount of resources amongst top laners. I think only Revenge and Armut have less resources, and that's because those teams are just bad overall. They're not getting resources as a team. So Solo's kind of doing one of the best with some of the least. And that's what you want from him. That's what makes him so freaking good right now. And I think it's what's surprising a lot of people about him is that he truly is one of the weak side kings of the LCS. Now, there are still some people who are, there's still some players out there who are definitely better with less resources. But right now, at least, Solo is showing that he's one of the best. I think that's freaking awesome. He deserves it. He's been working his butt off to show this off. The other is Boogie is tied for 3rd in kills in the jungle and has the highest kill participation while still having the worst goal differential at 10. So he is very much involved in most of our kills. His kill participation is like 81.1%. So he's clearly just one of the best, junglers, at least in the LCS, in getting the action started or at least being involved in the action. I wish that he could be a little bit better in the early game for sure, but my expectations, again, they were pretty low for Boogie, and he's definitely exceeding them. He seems like he's getting better every week. I'm still unsure of how high his ceiling is, but at least at a minimum, his floor is moving up, and I think that is really important if they plan on committing to him, even through the summer. So good for him. Maple has been so freaking good, guys. Like, I wanted to swear a lot there, but I'm not going to. Maple is the 2nd most kills in mid. only behind Jojo Pyun, and has the highest kill participation amongst mid laners. Guys, we're a team fighting team if you didn't know. Just putting that out there. But he's also second in DPM behind Jojo Pyun, and I think that that's a super important. Maple currently is playing technically as the second best mid laner in the LCS. I know kills, everybody's like, but kills and deaths don't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's about your laning and everything like that. His laning is fine. He's basically even in lane, maybe a couple minions difference. Right? He doesn't necessarily get a ton of attention in mid lane. He also played a freaking Galio game, which is going to, excuse me, hurt his laning stats. And his DPM and everything like that. And he's still playing, I think, extremely well. His Talia is very, very, very respected in the LCS at this point. I really like what I'm seeing out of him right now, and I think he should be at least up for potentially a third All-Pro vote if we were voting at the midway point. Now, he's got to continue it, obviously, but guys, Maple looks really good, to say the least. Okay, continuing. Neo. Now, it's a little harder to find some stuff for Neo because, listen, he's not gotten a ton of attention, and he's not necessarily been positioning well, but he does have the 5th best KDA, and he's been doing it while playing Lucian into the Zeri pretty constantly. Like, I went back and looked. I think we have one win against Zeri in like 4 or 5 games. I think it's 5 games of our 9 so far this split. So, she's so strong. He obviously doesn't play it. It doesn't seem like, and that's fine. I'm not gonna say that it's not partially his fault, but I think, if he's made it pretty clear that he doesn't want to play her, they need to ban her. They showed it last week. I'm hoping they'll continue it this week. Last one here, Chime, man. Chime. Tied for 3rd in assists, has the best kill participation in the LCS at 83%. This man is constantly involved. He is making things happen. I really think he's one of the best supports in the LCS. I think anybody who's arguing differently, like, I know Vulcan's the best. I know everybody loves Core JJ a lot. I think Huhi's been playing extremely well. I had Huhi, I believe, 3rd in my power rankings for supports, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I think he has been a major reason why Golden Guardians have been so good. But guys, like, I really do think that Chime is up there, at least should be in consideration. His biggest issue right now, actually, when I was looking at the stats, thanks to Oracle's Elixir for a lot of these stats, his ward placing and clearing is actually one of the worst. He doesn't spend a lot of money on pink wards. Maybe he doesn't necessarily need to. I haven't really watched it all that clearly, but when I was looking through the stats, I was like, man, why is he at the bottom or near the bottom in almost every warding stat? Feels strange. I know that it's partially because he's so involved in the kills and everything, but I'd like to see him, help us get a little bit better vision. That could be very helpful for us going forward. We're actually one of the worst warding teams, at least in terms of the statistics that are available in the LCS, and I think that could be another step that the team could take forward, specifically through Chime and Boogie probably. And then just about, we're about 5th in literally almost every statistic, and are tied for 4th at 5-4, so it makes sense. We are kind of the middle of the road team, and normally I wouldn't be excited about that, but considering I was really just hoping, hey, maybe we can win 3 games, in this first half, and then maybe try to figure something out in the second half, we've done the exact opposite of what I was hoping. I was hoping for 3 wins in the first half, 5 in the second half. Right now, we're at 5 in the first half with, I think, some big wins over, Team Liquid and over FlyQuest. And I think that, I don't think we're going to see another 100 Thieves type game from this team. I think they figured some stuff out since then. I think Cloud9 is also going to be maybe a little bit surprised by how we play. I'm trying to think who else we lost to. The Golden Guardian game, we should have probably won that Golden Guardians game. It felt like we threw that game a little bit. So, we could have been 6-3 and been right up there. And then I don't know if we're going to beat Evil Geniuses or FlyQuest again, but maybe not even C9. But I think we can be right there in that top 4 level. Dang it. I always forget that. Okay. Our first game is going to be against CLG. Now, here's the thing, guys. Is CLG is just as up and down as we are. I don't know how I feel about them right now, to be honest with you. They are not a bad team, but they are clearly... Well, they're clearly not a good team either. I think they're pretty much right about the same level as us. And I think, if we want to make playoffs, if we want to have a really good chance, in my mind, to make playoffs, right? I already consider Immortals and Dignitas to be out, right? So that means that we only have to be better than 2 more teams to make playoffs. Beating CLG here has now become our most important game of the year. Okay, and here's why. They are right behind us, right? If we lose to them, we are then tied in the standings, and not just that, because they'd go from 4-4 to 4-5 to 5-5, as we would as well, from 5-4 to 5-5. But not just that, this team, right? We already have a win over them. And if we were able to get that second win, we have the tiebreaker, right? So even if we were to finish both teams 8-10 at the end of the year, we would have the tiebreaker over them and they wouldn't make the playoffs. Okay? So this is a crucial game on Thursday. Very, very, very important game. So I went back and I looked. I was like, all right, what did we do to beat them? And this was, weirdly enough, the only game that we won against the Zeri that I can recall that I didn't check too hard, but it feels like we pretty much lost to Zeri every game except for this one. And it was when we were really starting to find the style that I was talking about, right? On the last video specifically. Tank top lane. Solo brought out the Scion and absolutely just mashed. Full on carried the game in my opinion. It was just impossible for Dokla to really play the game. Boogie was on the Elise. I don't think teams are going to give him that. He seems to be very comfortable on it. I don't think he's like great on it, but he's really good at just engaging and doing a ton of damage. So there you go. Lulu for Chime. I think Lulu, he's one of the better Lulus in the LCS. This was a great game from him. The Sivir, Neo was able to pour in damage, and Silas was able to be frickin' Silas. And Maples, again, been one of the best mid laners in the LCS. So, it is funny that also Jace is just not very good. So I think any mid laner that picks Jace is trolling at this point. I hope we don't do it. But, I think a lot of people are trying to rely on Maokai especially to be an AP force. I don't think he can be the only AP on a team. I just don't think he does enough consistent damage. His burst is pretty solid, but consistent, there's no consistent damage there. And even the burst is relatively weaker than most AP carries. So the way I'm looking at this is this. I think that CLG are very beatable. I think they're consistently not putting Luger in a position to win. I would like to see us ban the Kalista against him. I think he's pretty solid on it. And then outside of that, I think it's just about playing our style of game. Tank top lane, engage jungle, scaling carries, and Chime just playing whatever's best. I would even love for them to potentially start saving last pick for Chime, and I think in this game that could be very important. But the guy I'm looking at in this game, yet again, is Solo. Dokla has been playing a ton of Irelia. It's actually been a big portion of what's helped them win. Now, I don't know if Irelia is necessarily bannable, but I want to see him pick a tank that he's very confident into the Irelia, because I think that that's going to be a pretty important key to winning the game for us. So if he can keep Dokla under wraps, I think the rest of the team, they can kind of just do their thing, and I think we can come out with a win here. I am going to predict us to win here. I'm going to predict us to go 2-0 in the season series over CLG. I think CLG have been pretty inconsistent. I think one of the things that we have been is relatively consistent. We're pretty much the same team. We're not going to do well in the early game. I think if we survive the first 10 minutes by only being down by 1, maybe 2,000 gold max, I know that most people will be like, oh my god, that's horrible, I'm so scared. This team isn't that. I think they're the opposite, honestly. They're just going to be like, whatever, we don't care. We're just going to scale into our team fights. We're going to go to Dragon. We're going to do our thing. And it starts with Solo. So I really don't want to see him play the Cassante. I don't want to see him play anything. I want to see him play Scion. I want to see him play Ornn. I want to see him play Cho'Gath. I want to see him play Gragas. Whatever the tank that he is most comfortable into, whatever Dokla's going to play, just choose that, go with it, and don't worry about it. All right, moving on. We've got Cloud9. Now, this is a pretty important matchup. This will be the second game since Eminez has come up from Academy to replace Diplex. They really like him. He's pretty solid, it looks like. And the one thing about Cloud9 is that they're good enough without their mid lane being great. Okay, they're 7-2, and Diplex has been average to below average in most of his games, and has unfortunately shown that he really truly is kind of like a melee assassin specialist, and that doesn't always work at the highest level. You gotta at least have one or two, mages to be able to play. Otherwise, you get a little too predictable and get put into bad positions. So, um, for me against this team, it wasn't a great game for us. I don't, I don't think that will. I don't think that'll happen again. Going back and looking on it, gotta find the game really quickly. Here it is. Wow, we actually played them in the same week, just flip flopped. We went C9 into CLG again. I really solo playing the Gnar was pretty bad. We gave Berserker the Zeri, which I think was the biggest mistake. I remember he got that pentakill. The game was actually pretty close initially, right? We were dragon stacking, things were looking good, but then we kind of just let Blabber, Berserker, and Fudge just take over the game, right? I think this was actually one of our least, probably one of our worst drafts yet. We did play, while I said, I think in the previous video, that you don't have to have two melees to be good with the Sejuani. You gotta have at least one, and it can't just be the Gnar in Mega Gnar form, right? So I think, the big issue here with our team in that last game is I don't think we drafted very well. I don't think, Rise is like really not in the meta right now for us, for the LCS really at all. So I don't think we'll have to worry about that. Hopefully we'll get out of our bad habits of picking Lucian, Nami, and allowing the Zeri through. And I think, Gnar is fine, but we didn't play around the Gnar bar pretty much at all from what I can remember in this game. So I want to see us really focus on, again, playing our style. I want to see solo on the tanks. I really want to see, especially in the bot lane, I want to see something safe. Something that is not going to allow Berserker to just freaking pop off at any moment. I want to see them ban as many AD carries as you can to really try to push his pool down. Not that it's going to be bad, but just make him pick something that's not super strong, right? Make him pick a Jinx or something like that, right? Yeah, he has the carry potential, but she takes a lot longer than everybody else. And at that point, if we've got a Sivir with 300 CS, she can kind of match her as long as, you get to her early on. I would love a Vi in this game as well from Boogie, but I don't know if we're going to get that. The guy that I'm looking at in this game is going to be our boy Maple. He's been one of our best players, probably our best player on the team, honestly. And not just that, but Eminez, it'll be his second game in the LCS, and there are nerves that come with that. Every player, most every player describes how they're a little nervous in their first week. He's going to have to go back-to-back games against Gory and then into Maple, two players that I don't think he wanted to see this early on, and if he can get an early advantage, then that may be enough for him to, I don't know, to scale us into a big dub. So apologies for the dog barking, but I would love to see him pick something like the Silas. I think that it scales well. It's got a lot of good engage, and I think he's got a lot of creativity that he can do with the different alts. I think that would be really good into this. Other than that, I really don't want to see the Azir in this game. I think they're going to ban the Talia, so that's why my mind is set on Silas. We'll have to see what else he could potentially pull out. I think they are going to start trying to, maybe target ban him a little bit. That'll open up picks for everybody else, so I want to see them take advantage of that as well. Unfortunately, I am going to pick us at a loss here. I think Fudge is playing out of his freaking mind, and if there's anybody who's going to be able to, I think, take advantage of the fact that Solo's not going to be able to do much in lane and try to keep him out of team fights by, pressuring his lane, taking away his top lane tower, I think it's going to be, unfortunately, I should say, I think it's going to be Fudge. Not only that, but Berserker is just really, really hard to handle. And, honestly, Neo and Chime have not been great in lane, whereas Berserker and Sven have been pretty strong in lane. And that's why, again, to me, it's up to Maple. If Maple can get a big enough lead and cause enough problems to where Blabber can, is going to have to try to focus mid lane to keep, to keep Eminez just in the game, then maybe there's a chance. But I'm just picking us at a 1-1 this week. But even that, 6 wins, after week 5, we literally only need 2 more wins in the last, what would that be, 7 games? Like, that seems pretty doable when you have Immortals and Dignitas still on your schedule and a struggling TL and 100 Thieves. So we'll have to see. I don't know, but yeah, just let me know what you guys think. And, with that, I'll see you on the next one.